Hi, everybody. I would like to explain to you how to do what we've been building for in our trade book readings. You've been reading Fever, Chains, or My Brother Sam is Dead. The whole point is to learn culture of the early 1800s or maybe the late 1700s. This class is called American Cultures, and that's what we're trying to learn by reading those great stories. So what you want to do is you're going to go to Canvas. Maybe you're there already. You are going to scroll down to the trade book section here. And as you've been reading your trade books, you've been taking chapter quizzes. Most of you have been. And that's just to show me that you're reading the book. You get credit, of course, you get a grade for completing the chapter quizzes. But now we're going to do the real thing that's the real point. I'm just going to open the Chains book here as an example to show you how to complete your culture activities. When you open the link to your book, you are, of course, going to see all those chapter quizzes that you've been completing. That's all great. But down here towards the bottom is what we're after for today and the next couple of days as we do some of these culture activities. So let's start with, there is a rubric for how we answer these. When you click on the rubric, it will open up and show you something that you've actually already seen in your packet that you got with your trade books way back before Thanksgiving break. So the rubric shows you how you get a score. 0 points for not submitting anything at all. 1, which is failing, for not really giving accurate descriptions of the culture and not comparing it to modern culture at all. A 2, sort of barely passing. You're giving me 1 or 2 descriptions of the culture from your time period and from your book and then comparing it to our modern culture. Your writing needs to be acceptable. You've taken language arts classes for years, so show me something you've learned there about how to write a complete sentence, how to make coherent thoughts go together, how to write a good paragraph. 3, which is good. That's this. You're doing what we expect. If you get a 3, you're going to be giving me 3 or 4 descriptions of the particular part of the culture that you're writing about and using some page numbers from your book. Kind of like a TDA that you might do in the language arts class, where when you read books there, where you're showing me some evidence that you're not just making stuff up, you've actually read this in your book. And then a 4, going above and beyond, means you're doing 5 or more descriptions. You're using page number citations from your book. You're using a lot of comparisons to modern culture. You're using excellent writing skills, complete paragraph form, which is what we expect. Now, having done that, let me go back to show you how you actually access the documents that you're going to complete. With your trade books, you are going to write about 3 different areas of culture. There are 7 here on this grid. One about clothing, one about family, one about food, one about health and medicine, one about housing, one about transportation, and one about work and jobs. Those are the 7 areas of culture that we've been learning about, as all of those are in each of the books that you have read. Sam, honestly, is a little weaker on clothing than the others, but there's all kinds of great stuff in your books if you've read them. If you haven't read the books, these are going to be very difficult for you because you won't know what the book says about the culture you will not have learned. The more you've read, the better off you are. Do you have to have read all of your book to be able to answer these? No. If you still have some chapter quizzes to complete, that's okay. But the more you've read, the better chance you're going to succeed. And quite honestly, the more you write, the better your grade. Now, I'm just going to pick one of these. I'll pick family, for example. All of these are relatively the same, and no matter which book you're reading, you can still do this no matter which book it is. So let me click on, the paperclip, which is going to open a template for you. You'll get one with your name already on it. And what you'll see here is, for example, a family culture activity. You're writing about the family in your book and family relationships. This is true for any of them: transportation, work and jobs, health and medicine, clothing, housing, food, whatever. They're all pretty much the same. So, I have this reminder here. Keep in mind, the more you write, the better your grade, because I'll know what's in your head. there's a place to click to watch a short video that explains about this particular activity, not the kind of general thing that I'm giving you right now. In this first box, you'll write about some of the culture of your family. I've given you some ideas of how to do that. Who is the family? Describe the family in your book. Who's responsible to do different things? Who cooks? Who cleans? Who does whatever in the family? How well does that family get along? Are there certain things that make them happy or angry or whatever? You'll know that in all three of these books, there are some bad circumstances that people live under. So there's a lot of opportunity to write about what makes them happy or sad or whatever, and what happens when they have conflicts. How are they resolved? Now, I don't expect that you have memorized your book. You are allowed to use your book as you write these, but there is a limited time frame for each of them, meaning you don't have an hour in class to write about these each day. Now, the point is, if you've learned some of the culture of your family in your book, let's say chains, for example, you have the two slave girls who kind of are their own little thing in the slave community, and then the Lockton family, which, they've got their own problems. You might be writing about them. But you're going to compare that to your family right now. Here's the link that connects this to the present. Who do you consider your family? Family trees are a lot more complicated than they may have once been. So talk about who's your family. What responsibilities do you have or different people in the family? What do you do to keep the family moving, or your siblings or parents or grandparents or whoever you might happen to live with? How well do you get along? What are the things that make your family click or maybe not click sometimes? How are conflicts resolved? So those are the sort of things you're writing about. Um, Now, you are going to compare and contrast then those two time periods. What are some of the similarities? What are some of the differences? You might say, gee, Mr. Clark, how much do you expect me to write? Well, the rubric helps you understand that. A good paragraph about each is a great idea. The more you write, the more you describe the culture of your book, the more you describe the culture of your family, the more you just compare and contrast, then that's great. That winds up with a better grade. Now, you're doing this not just for one culture activity. You're going to do three of these total. Get that? Three. 1, 2, 3. For those of you struggling with math these days, and you're going to do that, from that same grid. Let me go back that quick. There we go. No matter which book you have, you are going to write about 3 of those different areas of culture. Not all 7. I guess if you want to write about all 7, great. But you want to you do at least 3. I think if you've read the books and enjoyed the stories, you'll have an idea of, how are they transported? How do they move from place to place? Are they walking? Are they riding? Are they using boats? Are they using canals? Any kind of transportation that appeared in your book? Any kind of work or jobs that people have, the food they eat, housing, the health and medicine is big in especially fever and in chains, especially when somebody is punished with a letter being burned into her cheek. Ugh, horrible stuff. All right, so that's kind of an overall view of how you do the culture activities. And you'll see as you open each one of these, there's a short video explaining how you do each individual one. All right, so you'll work on some of that this week, and I'll see you later.